Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I have part 2 of 2 of the Luffy vid. I'm so happy because it seems like you guys really enjoyed the first part, so I hope you like the second part as well. In this video we'll be covering his jacket, his hat, his hair, and the little finishing touches. So I hope you guys are ready to finish your doll, and let's just jump right into it. For this project you will need scissors, a needle, a 1.4mm hook, a 3mm hook, and a 3.5mm hook. You will also need 10mm eyes, a fine tip Sharpie, stuffing, and a dowel. For yarn you will need a medium weight yellow, dark brown, peach, and light brown, a lightweight white, tan, and black, and a sock weight red. All of the yarns I used will be down in the description below. To make the jacket, we're going to be taking our 3mm hook and this fine sock weight red yarn. We're going to be starting with the sleeves, and we're going to begin with a slip knot. You're then going to chain 15, and I'd recommend doing a loose tension. You're then going to insert your hook into the very first chain, and we're going to connect it with a slip stitch. You're going to chain 1 to start the first row, and into the same chain that we made our slip stitch into, we're going to be making a single crochet. We're then going to be making a single crochet into the remaining 14 chains. After we've made our 15 single crochets, we're going to insert our hook into the very first single crochet, and we're going to connect it with a slip stitch. Repeat this process for rows 2 through 9. Alright, this is what it should look like when you have all 9 of those rows finished. I've of course finished my row with a slip stitch, so we're just going to go ahead and cut off a short tail and pull all the way through. You're of course going to make another sleeve, and now let's get started on the jacket body. We're going to start the jacket body by making a slip knot and chaining 36. Once that's done, we're going to turn our work, and starting from the second chain from our hook, we're going to make a single crochet. And we're going to make a single crochet into each chain across for a total of 35 stitches. You're going to start each row with a chain 1. And for rows 2 through 10, we're just going to be making a single crochet into each stitch across. Once those 10 rows are done, we're going to start row 11 by chaining 1, and then we're going to begin the row by doing a regular decrease. We're then going to make a single crochet into the next 31 stitches. We're then going to end the row with a decrease, bringing our stitch count to 33 stitches. For this row, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to begin with a decrease. We're then going to put a single crochet into the next 3 stitches. We're now going to grab one of our sleeves, and we're going to find where the seam is because we're going to aim that down. So I'm going to have the seam in the bottom middle here. And then we're going to start attaching it to the jacket. So we're going to start by putting our hook through the next stitch of the jacket and also line it up with one of the stitches in the sleeve. We're then going to make a single crochet going through both of those stitches. So to do it again, you're just going to go into the next stitch of the jacket and then the next stitch of the sleeve. And we're once again going to make a single crochet using both of those stitches. And we're going to do that a total of 7 times. Now that we have that first sleeve attached, we are now going to make 2 decreases into the jacket. In the next stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. And then we're going to make 2 more decreases. We're now going to stick our hook through the next stitch and grab our second sleeve, and we're going to repeat the process of putting the seam at the bottom middle and making 7 crochets through both the jacket and the sleeve. Alright, now that we got both sleeves attached, we are now going to make a single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And we're going to end this row with a decrease. Okay, so for this next row, we are going to be working along the top part of the sleeve this time, and that way the sleeves will be fully connected by the end of this row. So we're going to chain 1 and begin our row with a decrease. And then in the next 2 stitches, we're just going to be making a single crochet. We're now going to be working in the upper part of the sleeve, and there should be 8 stitches on top. So we're going to begin the top part of the sleeve by making a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. We're then going to make a decrease, and then we're going to put a single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to be making a decrease. We're now going to be working back into the jacket, and there should be 5 stitches in between the arms. So we're going to begin by making a decrease, and then we're going to make 1 single crochet, and then another decrease. We're now going to be working in the second upper sleeve, but this time we're going to mirror what we did on the other. So we're going to begin with a decrease, and then we're going to make a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to make another decrease, and we're going to make a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. We're now back to working in the jacket part again, and we're going to put a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to finish with a decrease. For these next 2 rows, we're just going to chain 1 and just make a single crochet all the way across for a total of 21 stitches. So here's how the jacket should look on the doll, and it's looking really good. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the same stitch and fasten off with a slip stitch. And then off camera, I'm going to go ahead and weave in all of these ends. Okay, we're now going to add the yellow buttons as a finishing touch to the jacket. So to do that, I'm just going to grab the same yarn I used to make the sash with and a 1.4mm hook. So to make the buttons, you're going to cut off a piece like 12 to 18 inches long. And what we're going to do is split the yarn. So that looks like this, and then I'm going to grab one little thread here and pull it away from the rest. So with this thread, we're just going to make a magic circle, and we're going to chain 1 to secure it, and then we're going to insert 6 single crochets into the circle. Pull the circle closed, and we're going to finish off by going into the very first single crochet and making a slip stitch. Pull all the way through, and that's how you make one of the buttons. I made a total of 3, and you can either decide to hot glue them on the jacket or sew them. I ended up sewing them on off camera. I lined them up just like this, and that's how you make the jacket. For the hair, we're going to take our lightweight black yarn and our 3mm hook. We're going to start the wig cap by making a magic circle. And then you're going to chain 1 to secure it. And then we're going to insert 6 single crochets into the circle. Close the circle. For the next row, we are going to put an increase into each stitch around, but we will be doing it in the back loop only. For this next row, in the back loop only, we're going to be putting a single crochet into the first stitch, and then an increase into the second. And we're going to do this all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. For the fourth row, in the back loop, we're going to be putting a single crochet into the first 2 stitches, and then an increase into the third. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 24 stitches. For row 5, in the back loop, we're going to be putting a single crochet into the first 3 stitches, and then an increase into the fourth. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 30 stitches. For row 6, in the back loop, we're going to be making a single crochet into the first 4 stitches, and then an increase into the 5th. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 36 stitches. Okay, so we are now going to begin making the strands of hair. So this is what you should have right now, and to begin our first strand, you're going to start by chaining 6. You're going to turn your work, And in the second chain from your hook, you are going to start with a slip stitch. In the next chain, you're going to make a single crochet. And in the next two chains, you're going to make a half double crochet. And in the last chain, you're going to make a double crochet. As you can see, you have stitches that I've tried to make more visible. In the next two, you're going to make a slip stitch. For the second strand, you're once again going to chain 6. In the second chain from our hook, we're going to begin with a slip stitch. And then in the next chain, we're going to make a single crochet. And in the next two chains, we're going to make a half double crochet. And in the last chain, we're going to make a double crochet. We are then going to skip the next stitch after that and go into the next two, making a slip stitch in both of those. So we're going to skip this one, go into the next one, make a slip stitch, and then make a slip stitch after that. For the third strand, we're going to chain 9. In the second chain from our hook, we're going to begin with a slip stitch. And then in the next chain, we're going to make a single crochet. And now in the next 5 chains, we're going to make a half double crochet. And in the last stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. We're now going to skip the next stitch and then make one slip stitch after that. For this next strand, we're going to chain 10. And we're going to start with a slip stitch. And then we're going to make a single crochet. And then we're going to make 6 half double crochets. And finally, we're going to make a double crochet. We are now just going to make a slip stitch into the very next stitch, and we're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future. So now for strands 5 through 17, we're going to chain 11. We're going to start with a slip stitch, and then make a single crochet, and then we're going to make 7 half double crochets. Finish off with a double crochet, and then we're going to go into the very next stitch and make a slip stitch. So now you're going to repeat that for the next 13 strands, and I'll meet you back when that's done. Alright, so we're getting ready to start the 18th strand, and it's looking pretty crazy, but trust the process. So for the 18th strand, you're going to want to chain 10. We're going to start with a slip stitch, and then we're going to make a single crochet, and then we're going to make 6 half double crochets, and finally we're going to end it with a double crochet. We're then going to go into the very next stitch and make a slip stitch. For the next strand, you're going to want to chain 9. You're going to start with a slip stitch, and then make a single crochet, and now make 5 half double crochets, and then you're going to end with a double crochet. You're then going to make a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches on the wig cap. For the next strand, you're going to chain 6, and then you're going to start with a slip stitch, make a single crochet, make a half double crochet into the next 2 chains, and end with a double crochet. You're then going to skip over the next stitch and then make a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches after that. And for the final strand, you're going to chain 6. You're going to make a slip stitch, and then a single crochet. And then you're going to make a half double crochet into the next 2 chains. And then finish with a double crochet. We're once again going to skip the next stitch and then make a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. And this is what you should end up with. Okay, so this probably looks really confusing, so I'm going to tell you how to adjust it onto the head. So you're going to match the magic circle of the wig cap with the center of the top of the head. We're then going to pin that into place. Now the first 2 strands that we made and the last 2 strands that we made are going to be his facial framing pieces. Then the 3rd strand on each side is going to be placed in front of the ear like this. And the 4th strand goes directly behind the ear like this. You're going to do that on both sides. Then the rest of these strands will just be lined up in the back of the head in a row. Now since we ended with a slip stitch, we're going to cut a small tail and pull all the way through. So this is what it should look like so far. Okay, so now these front loops are going to start coming into play. As you can see, because we worked in the round, we have this nice spiral to work with. We're going to take our hook and insert it into the very first front loop. We're then going to take our yarn and make a slip knot, take out our hook, and then we're going to attach to it with a slip stitch. We're now going to chain 7. Then we're going to start with a slip stitch. Then we're going to make a single crochet. Now we're going to make 3 half double crochets. And then finish off with a double crochet. We're then going to go into the next 2 front loops and make a slip stitch. You're going to repeat this process for another 18 strands or until you're directly above the right ear. And I'll meet you back when you have that. Alright, this is what it should be looking like so far. And to know you're in the right spot, you should have 2 rings left of the spiral and you should be directly above the right ear. So from here we're going to start switching it up, and for this section we're going to begin by chaining 9. You're then going to begin with a slip stitch, and then you're going to make a single crochet, and in the next 5 chains you're going to make a half double crochet, and then you're going to finish off with a double crochet. And then you're going to make a slip stitch into the next 2 front loops, like usual. And you're going to repeat this process for another 6 strands, or until you're directly above the left ear. Okay, so I've made it now to the other side of the ear, and for this next round we're going to have to once again get to above the right ear. So in order to get there, I already made my 2 slip stitches on my last strand, but we're going to make another 11 slip stitches to get across to the other side of the head. Now for this section we're going to start by chaining 10. We're then going to start with a slip stitch, and then a single crochet, and then we're going to make 6 half double crochets. Finally we'll finish it off with a double crochet, and then we're going to make a slip stitch into the next 2 front loops. You're going to repeat this process another 7 times, or until you're directly above the left ear. Okay, so now that I'm where I need to be, I'm just going to finish off with a slip stitch, cut off a tail, but it doesn't have to be a long one, and pull all the way through. So as you can see, I've been sort of pinning down where I want the hair to lay outside of the framing pieces. The back is where I'm going to start. I'm going to hot glue the pieces down, and I'm going to begin with the back. So you're going to start from the bottom up, and when I'm hot gluing, I'm not going to hot glue the whole piece down because I want to show these little flips to show all the individual strands and the layering. So for now, just work on the back of the head, and we're going to save the front for later. Alright, so now that the back's all glued down, it's looking really good. I'm actually going to insert the eyebrows before I make the front because I'm going to be gluing pieces over the eyebrows. I want them angled down so that he looks kind of like mischievous. So I'm going to grab my black yarn from before. We're just going to cut off a piece like 18 inches long. We're going to thread our needle, and I already marked out with pins like where I want them to go, so this is sort of where I was thinking. So we're going to insert our needle through one side, and then we're going to come out the other. And then we're going to insert our needle back through the beginning and come out the same side. We're now going to trim our piece and then use the rest of the yarn for the other eyebrow. So we're just going to repeat the same thing on the other side. And that's how it should look, so just shove in these ends into the head and then you're done. Okay, now that the eyebrows are in, I'm now ready to start gluing down the front hair pieces here. I pinned them down where I like them, but of course you could do whatever you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and finish up this hair. Alright guys, it is now time to make the hat, and this is the part I've been looking the most forward to. So we are going to size up to a 3.5mm hook, and we're going to grab our hat colors. So I'm using my jacket yarn from before, and a medium weight yarn. This is some generic yarn that came with my Centro, so I can't give you an exact brand, but it's the color I was looking for, so I'm going to use it. The other Luffy hats I made were yellow, so you could always use yellow if you want, but I'm using this color to kind of switch it up. So we're going to take our hat color and we're going to begin with a magic circle. We're then going to chain 1 to secure it. And then we're going to insert 8 single crochets into the circle. Pull your circle closed. And for this next row, we are just going to put an increase in each stitch around, bringing our stitch count to 16. For row 3, we're going to put a single crochet into the first stitch, and then an increase into the second. We're going to repeat the sequence all the way around for a total of 24 stitches. For row 4, we're going to put a single crochet into the first 2 stitches and then make an increase into the third. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 32 stitches. For row 5, we are going to be putting a single crochet into the first 3 stitches, and then we're going to put an increase into the fourth. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 40 stitches. For row 6, we are just going to put a single crochet into each stitch around. For row 7, we're going to be putting a single crochet into the first 4 stitches, and then an increase into the 5th. We're going to repeat this all the way around for a total of 48 stitches. For row 8, we are just going to be putting a single crochet into each stitch around. For row 9, we are going to be putting a single crochet into the first 5 stitches, then an increase into the 6th. We're going to repeat this sequence all the way around for a total of 56 stitches. And finally, for rows 10 through 14, we're just going to be making a single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, now once you have those 5 rows, we are now going to be making a single crochet into each stitch around, but we will be doing it in the back loop only. For row 16, we'll be making a single crochet into the first 6 stitches, and then an increase into the 7th. We'll be repeating this all the way around for a total of 64 stitches. For row 17, we'll be making a single crochet into the first 7 stitches, and then we'll be making an increase into the 8th. We'll be doing that all the way around for a total of 72 stitches. For the next row, we'll be making a single crochet into every stitch around. For row 19, we'll be making a single crochet into the first 8 stitches, and then an increase into the 9th. We're going to be doing that all the way around for a total of 80 stitches. And for the last row, we'll be making a single crochet into every stitch around. Alright guys, this is how your hat should be looking. We're going to finish it off with a slip stitch. Then we're going to cut off a short tail. Now let's get started on the red band. To make the red band, we're going to grab our red yarn from before and size back down to a 3mm hook, and we're going to begin with a slip knot. Now we're going to chain 4. And we're going to single crochet across, giving us 3 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your work. And we're just going to repeat this process for rows 2 through 65. Alright, so once you have your band made, I recommend putting the hat on the doll and measuring it against it to make sure it's the right size. So we're just going to wrap it around and see how it looks. If yours needs less rows, take some out, and if yours needs more rows, just keep going. But mine looks like it meets up nice. So I'm not going to connect the band together. So you're going to chain 1 and then fold the band in half. With both ends together, you're going to insert your hook into the first stitch, and then also the first other side of the chain. We're then going to make a single crochet. You're now going to make 2 more single crochets going through both the stitches and the chains. We're then going to chain 1, and then we're going to cut off a long tail for sewing. And this is what you should end up with. So we're now going to put the band around the hat, making sure that the band seam is in the back, and we're going to thread our needle. Now to sew the band, we're going to be going through these front loops on the hat. So we're going to find the very first front loop, which is right here, and we're going to put our needle through it. We're then going to put our needle through the second front loop, and also through the band, and pull through. Then we're going to go through the band, and then the third front loop, and so on and so forth. We're just going to do this all the way around until the band is completely sewn onto the hat. With the hat done, it's time to add the final touches that'll make Luffy look so cute and come to life. Of course, this is optional, but you will need a fine tip Sharpie and just some eyeshadow palettes with some different colors. I'm going to begin by blushing his cheeks, so I'm going to use this pink right here. Now I'm just going to put some on my finger and just rub it underneath his eyes. Alright, when you feel good about the cheeks, we'll now grab our fine tip Sharpie and draw on the scar that goes underneath the right eye. So we're going to start with the long horizontal line first. When drawing on crochet, I've learned that you don't just make a line, it's better to make a bunch of dots that connect to each other. Now I'm going to add 2 vertical lines. And now the face is all done. And lastly, we're going to make the X scar on his chest. So I'm actually going to bust out this palette with these types of colors now. I'm going to take a light brown just so I can mark out where I want it. And you can barely see it on camera. I'm then going to take this purple color and I'm going to go over what I just did with the brown. I then grab some of this reddish eyeshadow and I go over the purple. I then keep building with these 2 colors over and over, and I actually lost the footage, but I ended up wetting my brush and taking it into the purple, and that made a really defined X, so I highly recommend doing that as well. Alright, so this is how the doll looks with all the details added, and I just wanted to show you guys one thing. So this is actually my second head. I had messed up my first one, but I used my first head to kind of experiment with the face before I finalized it. As you can see on this one, I had made a mouth, and I went back and forth 100 times deciding whether or not to do that for my final version. I ultimately decided not to, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to see what it looks like with the mouth. It's very cute, but basically for the mouth I just made a V shape with the Sharpie, and it was super easy, but I just wanted you guys to see, you know, if that's the way you wanted to go with your doll first. Alright, so there's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope the tutorial was easy enough to follow. This is my biggest tutorial I've made yet, and it was weeks and weeks of work, so I hope it was worth it, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you guys so much for 75,000 views on my first Luffy hat tutorial. I'm so happy. Let me know down below if I should keep making dolls, because I have lots of ideas, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!